Hi, this is Brian Collette, Managing Partner of the HR Solutions Group here at AspireHR. Today, I'd like to talk to you about our tax and garnishment reporting solution for Ceridian Tax Services customers. The agenda for this webinar is to review who is AspireHR, to look at our credentials and capabilities in the success factors and SAP HR space, and to examine why Ceridian chose AspireHR for its next generation of SAP extraction technology. We'll review the solution in detail, looking at the new strengths of the product and the way in which it's addressed the challenges of the past. We'll do a live demonstration where we'll be able to see how easy it is and simple it is to run the solution and to reconcile the output within your SAP system. We'll review the 6-week implementation plan and how quick and easy it is to set up this solution in your system. And we'll review the next steps it takes to be able to move forward with the decision to implement the tax reporting solution. AspireHR was formed by Joseph Hillesheim to focus exclusively on the crossroads of SAP technologies and HR and payroll services. Mr. Hillesheim recognized that HR and payroll are very different from the other functional areas of an organization and would benefit from a consulting organization such as AspireHR providing dedicated services to meeting their needs. By being able to focus on HR and payroll organization-specific needs, AspireHR has been able to draw to it a management and consulting team with not just 5 or 10 years experience, but often 15 to 20 plus years of experience in the field. And with the right people, AspireHR has been consistently able to deliver the right results for our customers. Another of the advantages of focusing on the crossroads of SAP technologies and HR and payroll services is that we can avoid reinventing the wheel when it comes to the enhancements our customers would like to make to the SAP solutions. Because we're working with the same requirements over and over again, we come to understand them and to anticipate our customers' needs for these enhancements. And rather than recommend the traditional development methodology of designing a solution and building it custom for each customer, we take an alternative approach in which we are building SAP add-on solutions that we can provide to our customers as software. What this allows us to do is really simplify for our customers any enhancements that they want to make to the solution by eliminating the custom development and the ongoing support, as well as reducing the timeline and project risks of undertaking the development of a new solution from scratch. We currently offer 5 solutions for SAP's on-premise HR solutions and SuccessFactors. They are Payroll Launch Suite, which is an auditing, testing, cloning, and reports and interface solution, which helps simplify the ongoing support of the SAP HCM on-premise solution. We also offer HR Data Exchange for data migration and integration. We offer Employee Reporter, which allows customers to be able to create reports and interfaces using payroll, organizational management, time, and benefits data without having to do any ABAP development. We offer tax reporting, which is our Ceridian Tax Services integration tool, which we'll be diving into more detail today. And we also offer Cloud Benefits. And Cloud Benefits is a mobile enrollment solution for those customers who are running SAP benefits either on-premise or in the SAP HR cloud. In the solution overview, we'll look at the 2 components that make up tax reporting. We'll look at the data transfer process between the file generated in your SAP system and Ceridian. We'll take a look at the new features that this solution offers over previous versions, as well as the challenges it solved as well. We'll take a look at how you'll be regression testing to minimize the disruption of any changes or upgrades. And we'll do a summary from a technical perspective of the components of the tax reporting solution. Tax Reporter is made up of two solutions that are loaded into your SAP system through the SAP Transport Management System. There are no external software or hardware needed to run our solutions, nor is there any external access needed to your SAP systems. The two components that make up Tax Reporter are our tax and garnishment payments solution called Tax Reporting, and the focus here is on high performance for the extraction of details for your periodic, your quarterly, and your annual filings. This information is being extracted from your SAP Payroll results, and based on the volume, we've included parallel processing capabilities in this tool to ensure the report times are very quick and allow you to get through that process within the windows typically needed for the filing of your periodic and quarterly and annual results. We also include for the demographic information needed for quarterly and annual filings, Employee Reporter. As you may remember, Employee Reporter is a configurable report tool, and we are able to use this tool to extract the different information needed by different tax authorities without having to make ABAP changes for each client or for each change or for any differences between specific clients. This gives us an enormous amount of flexibility, which minimizes the amount of changes that are required to be able to support ongoing compliance. The tax reporting solution inside your SAP system generates timestamp files which are saved to your SAP's server folders. From those folders, those files can be transferred to the Ceridian systems using an SFTP file transfer process, similar to what you'd be using today to transfer any other HR or payroll data to third-party providers. Once the information arrives in the Ceridian systems, it's processed by the Ceridian receiver into the formatting and the transformation of the values from your SAP values to the Ceridian values that are necessary. By moving that transformation process to the Ceridian systems in the Ceridian receiver, we really simplify the extraction process from your SAP payroll results. By doing that, we minimize the amount of configuration that needs to take place within your SAP system for an implementation and for ongoing support. It also limits the number of times we're going to need to send you compliance updates. What this leads to is a very robust solution that requires no ABAP development at each client's site, and also a minimal amount of configuration and ongoing support. Let's look at the key features of AspireHR's Tax Reporter. Firstly, it's quick and easy to implement. We deliver to you transports that contain all of the items you're going to need to set up the system. It includes the programs, includes the configuration, and the security roles as well. When they're loaded into your system, there's no development that needs to take place, and the majority of the configuration to be able to run the system is in place. It really is as simple as gathering some simple requirements and fine-tuning the configuration that's in your system already to have you up and running. Typically, we can have the tax extraction and demographics files running within hours of having them loaded into your system and generating results that you can validate against your SAP Payroll Recon report. Secondly, the solution is native to SAP. So in that way, it's very familiar, and there's no additional security that you need to create to maintain, to control access to your HR and payroll data. we're leveraging the existing SAP HR and payroll security roles that are in your system today. We've streamlined maintenance in 3 different ways. Firstly, we've really simplified the solution that's in your SAP system, making it very robust and accurate. And we've moved a lot of the individual differences for each client to the Ceridian receiver so that that complexity is centralized in one place. Secondly, using Employer Reporter, we've been able to do the demographics file information with a configurable solution instead of ABAP coding. And that means whenever there's compliance changes, we don't need to send you another SAP transport that will need to be migrated through your system. It's as simple as updating the reporting template that's in your system already. And finally, we streamline and simplify maintenance by including a regression testing tool with our solution. And that way, after you've applied changes to either the templates that we provide or to the programs for the extraction, you can do a comparison which will point out amongst the hundreds of thousands of records generated any changes that have occurred in the file output, saving you thousands of hours of effort. We've included 2 advances in the tax and garnishment extraction process. Firstly, the operators no longer need to select the payroll results to send to Ceridian. No longer do they need to figure out which regular, bonus, adjustment, or payroll adjustment checks need to be included. The tool will automatically log the information that's being sent to Ceridian and then determine, even within a single day, what additional information needs to be sent to Ceridian automatically and without the intervention of the report operator. In addition, we've included parallel processing capabilities in the extraction process, allowing the extraction process to be run across the available capacity within your SAP system, significantly, in fact, exponentially reducing the amount of time that it takes to do the extraction of the information compared to previous versions or other capabilities within the SAP system as compared to the SAP provided reports. All of the information in the tax and garnishment extraction process comes from the results table within the SAP Payroll results cluster. That means that it is both incredibly accurate and also includes all of the additional information needed for meeting the needs, the compliance needs of the different state and local tax authorities, which require additional information on top of the actual tax amounts themselves. For example, Pennsylvania Act 32 compliance details. We have also included in the extraction process a summary amount of the amounts that have been taken for each tax authority and company code, allowing you to do reconciliation of the file itself with the SAP Payroll Recon report so that you're able to reconcile to the penny and have full confidence that the information that's being extracted from SAP is accurate even before it's sent off to Ceridian for processing. And in that way, you only need to do the extraction from SAP once before it's sent to Ceridian. And as SAP HR and payroll experts, you can be assured that AspireHR has designed a solution that works correctly with the SAP Payroll to do this extraction. And if any questions or challenges arise during the process, AspireHR is overwhelmingly qualified to be able to work with your people to provide great knowledge and answers and to be able to solve any issue that arises during the process. Diving into our tax solution in greater detail, there are 6 specific tax challenges that we have ensured have been fully addressed with this new solution. The first of these is reporting for all employees. So In our solution, we extract information and report all of the information for all active, terminated, and non-active employees that have any tax activity for the time period being reported on. We also, by reporting on and using the results table within the SAP Payroll cluster as our basis for reporting, we include all of the information for each payment for Pennsylvania Act 32 reporting, ensuring complete accuracy for those amounts. We also handle transfers between payroll areas and tax companies, ensuring that if there have been any movement between payroll areas or tax companies within the time period being reported, that they are all included and reported accurately to the correct tax company. We include the monthly counts specifically to the applicable tax company, and we handle retroactive calculations successfully for both periodic, quarterly, and annual filings, allowing you to choose when there are cross-quarter changes, whether this should be dealt with as an amendment to a previous quarter or whether it should be reported in the current quarter as well. So you have the choice of which method you'd like to use for reporting cross-quarter retroactive changes. We also include compliant wage list details, allowing you to file your quarterly returns successfully for all the different tax authorities, and to give you a simple and easy way to include that information and update that information as it changes over time. We know that as we make changes, as there inevitably will be, with compliance updates and improvements to our product, that it creates an enormous amount of concern about these changes impacting a process that's already running successfully today. That's why we've included with our solution regression testing tools for both the tax and garnishment extraction and also the demographic file as well. These solutions allow you to take snapshots of the output generated by both processes to be able to make those changes in your system that are required, be it an update to your SAP system, end of year support pack, a change that we've delivered for the reports themselves, or a compliance update to your demographics template. And then be able to run the process again, capturing the post-change file output, and then being able to compare the two and identify the differences. And if you think about how many different payments per employee per paycheck would be that are being passed to Ceridian, and what would be the effort to validate that anything that's been added has successfully changed the output in the way that you anticipated, the way that this tool can sort through all of those different items and then identify only the ones that have changed is an incredible time saver. It is a risk mitigator and should give you peace of mind to be able to move any update or change the process through your SAP landscape quickly and effectively to ensure that there's no disruption to any processing, even if it's happening and is required to happen in a very quick turnaround. This is an example of the kind of output that is generated by our regression testing tool. You can see that it lists there two different files that have been generated and are being compared. That would be the pre-change file output and the post-change file output. And it's indicated that with all the different records that are being generated in these two files, only two differences have occurred. And if you think about what it would take to validate this output and what this report, this regression testing tool has done by identifying the only two records that have changed, it's an incredible time saver and also gives you a real peace of mind. So just to summarize from a technical perspective, the products that we've been talking about in the past few slides. So the first thing to note is that these products are highly refined. They've been through many, many cycles of testing and are working successfully at many, many customers. And as such, there's no need for additional development or specific testing of the product when deployed at your SAP site. And so this allows us to run the exact same set of software at every single client that uses Ceridian. There is no customization, no developer keys, no access to your system that's required for our team to be able to have these solutions work in your environment. And these technologies are built with very standard SAP technologies like ABAP. So they are programmed in the ABAP language. They include things like transparent tables, which are defined in the SAP Data Dictionary. They use SAP security roles, and all of these are delivered to you on SAP transports that can be easily loaded into your system and then migrated through your SAP environment using the standard transport management system that your basis team is familiar with. Each of these programs are attached to an SAP transaction that allows you to set up individualized security for who can have access to this solution and who does not have access to this solution. And in that way, it operates like any other SAP report that you have running in your system. And in terms of being able to handle the tax compliance changes that are inevitably going to come up, we've addressed this with a configurable reporting solution called Employer Reporter and a demographic file template, which is able to be changed and configured with very minimal effort on your part. The solution that we're providing runs across the span of all current SAP ECC systems or ERP systems, everything from a R347B system through to an SAP ECC 6.0 Enhancement Pack 8 system. And as SAP comes out with different enhancement packs, we will deliver any updates required for new enhancement packs. We have our own SAP systems that we run in-house here at AspireHR that allow us to test across multiple different versions, and we keep up with the different enhancement packs as they're delivered by SAP to ensure that the product is ready to run in your environments. And the only other solution or capability that is required to work with this software is that we use your existing SAP SFTP file transfer process to send the file across from your SAP application server folders across to the Ceridian SFTP site. And this is just using the standard tools that you are using today for the transfer of any other HR generated file to a third-party provider. So let's dive into the solution in detail. And we're going to take a look at doing a periodic extract of tax and garnishment results as well as a quarterly extract. We'll look at the extraction of the demographic details, how to do an update of the demographics template when a compliance change comes through, and how to regression test any changes made in the system. I've logged into an SAP system, and you can see on the Easy Access menu in the Favorites folder all the transactions I'll need for running my Ceridian extraction process. There's the tax and garnishment reporting program for the extraction of the tax and garnishment results from the payroll cluster. There's the SAP Payroll Recon report for the reconciliation of the output from the tax and garnishment reporting. We have the Employer Reporter runtime, which runs the demographic template and extracts that information for the quarterly and annual filings, and the Employer Reporter maintenance solution, which allows you to upload any new templates for your demographics file or make adjustments to the demographics file. We also have two regression testing tools for the tax and garnishment information and the demographics information, so that you'll be able to test for changes pre and post the changes made in your SAP system. So first, let's take a look at the tax and garnishment reporting. The tax and garnishment extraction report has four major selection screen sections. They are the major report option section, the date ranges controlling the extraction of the information, the filters for the filtering of the contents of the file, and technical settings for the output of the file and the controlling the running of the report. So going over the major report options, the first choice is to enter your Ceridian collector ID. In this case, I've chosen a default or example Ceridian collector ID, which is STS000. Next, choose your type of export. We include periodic, quarterly, annual, and even monthly output as your choices. Thirdly, choose your run mode for the information and how it will be generated. We offer three output modes. The first one being a test mode with no file. This would allow you to run the report and generate the output to the screen for testing purposes. Secondly, there is a test mode with a file output. This again would be used for testing purposes, but to generate a file that can be sent to Ceridian to load into their system. And finally, there's the productive run mode, which generates the productive file to be sent to Ceridian and also updates the log information such that the information that's included in that file will not be sent to Ceridian again. And the final input option is the print only totals on screen option checkbox here. So this controls the output to the screen from the report of the summary of the information in the file and of the file contents itself. When checked, only the summary information is output in an ALV grid output, which is essentially like an Excel spreadsheet on the SAP screen. When unchecked, we generate both the summary output and then also the file contents as well. With the files being so large, this is typically unchecked when used to run this report for individual or very small groups of employees. The second section is the date ranges. The types of date ranges offered are controlled by the type of export which is chosen. When using the periodic mode and entering a Ceridian collector ID, the report is able to determine the time period for the information to be sent to Ceridian, and that is from the time that the last file was sent up until the current exact date and time down to the second of the current time. If you need to change the time parameters for the information that's being sent, we also offer an override option for just the periodic selection. As you'll see when we come to the quarterly extraction, the times are set to the start and end of the quarter. From a filtering of the file contents perspective, we allow you to filter on the wage types included, the accumulations that are included, which payroll areas are going to be included, any personnel numbers to be included, tax company, and whether garnishments should be included as well. This ACRT tax authority filter here controls the tax authorities which are going to be generated with all of the additional information in it in addition to their results table information for quarterly filings that require additional wage type compliance information to be included. And finally, in the technical settings, you'll choose the path names for the files to be saved and also for temporary files. And you'll also be able to choose the number of parallel jobs that will be created. And you'll be able to control this and determine how quickly, how many application servers will be available and how quickly your report needs to run. And finally, there's an ALV variant for the reconciliation report that's generated after every time this is run. This formats the information into a format that you are comfortable doing your reconciliation process and can be used to match the SAP Payroll Recon report. As a standard SAP ABAP report, you can create selection criteria variants and then save them and retrieve them at a later date. Using the Get Variant option, I'm going to choose a variant that I created earlier. And you'll see that this variant is for a quarterly file generation for Q4 2013, and that the date range has been set by the report itself and does not require you to make any changes to it. We also have this new option, which is separate cross-period results. So what this does is to allow you to decide how you will handle cross-quarter retros, whether you will do amendments to the previous quarters or whether changes to the previous quarter will be reported in the current quarter. In this case, by checking this box here, I'm going to be reporting the information as separate for amendment purposes. And you can see the output of the summary information has had a variant applied to it, such that I can see all of the information by tax company, check date, tax authority, and wage type all summarized. And if I want to drill down into it in more detail, I can simply expand and see the results underneath. All of this is totaled such that I now have a figure that I can reconcile with the SAP Payroll Recon report. So what I'm going to do next is to run the SAP Payroll Recon report and reconcile the numbers from our extraction program and the SAP Payroll Recon report. Again, selecting a variant. I'm going to select the same time frame, same employees, and same wage types. And I've applied a display variant that matches the same display variant that I used on the tax and garnishment extraction program. And I can scroll down to the bottom of the screen to see a matching number with that was generated by the tax and garnishment extraction program. $15,770,133.13, which matches exactly what was extracted by the SAP, by the Aspire tax and garnishment extraction program. For your quarterly and annual reporting, you'll also need to submit a demographics file which contains all of the information required by the different tax authorities for your quarterly and annual filings. This is done through AspireHR's Employee Reporter solution. It's a configurable report and interface building solution, and you'll be using two components of it. One, the Employee Reporter runtime, which runs the demographic template supplied by AspireHR to generate the file output. And two, the Employee Reporter maintenance, which allows you to upload the templates as we update the configuration through joint action with Ceridian, and to also, if necessary, change the configuration to match your specific configuration in your system. Firstly, let's take a look at running the existing template. So clicking on the transaction, I can, because this is an SAP ABAP report, save a variant for the selection screen and then retrieve that at any time. In this case, for the Employee Reporter, I have selected my time period, my employees, and a configured report to run. And in running it, it's going to generate the information in the formats required by Ceridian for the demographic information. And the beauty here is that we allow you to output that information both to the screen and to a file. So you can first check that information before sending it to Ceridian. So you can drill down into each of these different record types, the current record covering the basic demographic information about the employees, the worksite details covering the state and other tax authority information that's required, the Pennsylvania address for Pennsylvania Act 32 local reporting, and then the active and terminated on leave information as well. So when I drill into here, I can see the information about the employees and also this demographic information that's required for quarterly filings. Once I'm satisfied with that information, I can to output this to a file, I simply go to my override selection screen, and I can choose, instead of outputting it to the screen, is to output it to a server. In this case, I can choose between my PC and also the SAP server, and I can choose a format for the timestamp that's attached to it. For systems that have Unicode, we can also output the file without any kind of interruption or issue with Unicode characters being present. So in running this output, it's going to generate a file. And you'll see as it runs, instead of generating it to the screen, it generates it to a file. And finally, we're going to look at the regression testing tools that eliminate the majority of the testing activities whenever a change is made to the system or to the extraction processes provided by AspireHR. The two tools, one for the tax and garnishment extraction and one for the employer reporter demographic report, are again SAP ABAP reports, which are attached to a transaction and available as favorites on your easy access menu. Looking at the tax and garnishment regression testing, it offers three options. One is the generating of the files, the managing the files through deleting of unnecessary files, and the comparison of two files to identify differences between the files, allow you to do exceptionally quick pre and post audits of changes to the output from your tax and garnishment extraction program. I'm not going to generate the files now, but what I will do is again use a variant to select two sets of files, one which is a baseline file and one which is a new quarterly output, taken at different days before and after a change to the underlying environment or program. And then in running them as a comparison, it's going to analyze the files and then show me the differences in it. In this case, you can see the header record changed to match the dates at which it was run, both in the header and the footer. And the only change that was found throughout all of the file was one record that was deleted for $18,000 for a /301 federal wages that was replaced by two wages, which represent $3,000 and $15,000, again for the /301 for Fed. So you can see how this $18,000 has been split into two amounts, and that there are no other changes in the file apart from the header and trailer records. The Employer Reporter Regression Testing tool offers the same capabilities to generate files pre and post changes in the system or in the report, to be able to manage those files and then do comparisons to spot differences. In the implementation plan section, we'll see how quick and easy it is to implement the Aspire products with all of the refinements and experience that we've had in implementing this solution successfully. We anticipate and plan for a 6-week implementation process, beginning in week 1 with a project setup phase, week 2 and 3 with a realization and user training, week 4 and 5 with integration and acceptance testing with Ceridian, and week 6, the go live and knowledge transfer to you. In week 1, we'll start with a project kickoff meeting to bring together all of the stakeholders and everybody who has a role in the project. We'll explain what needs to take place over the next 6 weeks, and then set up a status meeting that we'll conduct weekly to ensure that we're making good progress towards completing our 6-week timeline. One of the first steps of week 1 after the project kickoff is the installation of the Aspire transports with the Aspire product, And then the follow-up of a web meeting where AspireHR will test the installation of the product and resolve any kind of installation issues via that web meeting. It's quite often that we're able to generate the first test files out of that meeting that can be sent to Ceridian for testing purposes. And finally, in week 1, we'll complete the implementation scoping questionnaire. In that questionnaire, we aim to uncover any configuration differences in your system versus what's anticipated in the standard SAP implementation, and also to address any concerns that you have to make sure that they are covered during the implementation process. Weeks 2 and 3 are the realization phase of the project. You'll be identifying test cases and the supporting test data to test out any specific scenarios that you want to ensure are addressed by the solution. We'll be using your answers to the scoping questionnaire to identify any changes that need to be configured or set up, and then we'll be going through the configuration changes to the demographic file, and also the setup of the variants for the running of the employer reported demographics file and the tax and garnishment extraction report. In weeks 4 and 5, you'll be doing the integration and acceptance testing of the solution. In weeks 2 and 3, we were doing unit testing to ensure that the setup of the programs and any kind of configuration changes to the demographics file and the saving of the report variants has been done successfully. In weeks 4 and 5, we'll be sending files to Ceridian for firstly the periodic and then the quarterly and then the annual files to ensure the information is being sent across and the Ceridian configuration is correct as well. Week 6 is the go live week, with the product being moved into the production environment and being run in parallel with your current solution and with the SAP Payroll Recon report. What this allows you to do is to get comfortable that the output is going to be successfully delivered to Ceridian before you go live. And as you go live, we'll be doing knowledge transfer to make sure that you understand the overall process of how the files will be generated and sent, and also the steps to handle any kinds of maintenance updates to the solution. If you like what you've seen so far, in the next step section, we're going to take a look at how to move forward with implementing the AspireHR product. So the first task in the sequence is that AspireHR will provide the master software license agreement and the master services agreement for the implementation and ongoing support of the tax and garnishment solution with pricing for your consideration. Once you've determined a implementation timeframe and you've communicated this to us, we'll be able to also provide the statement of work, including the implementation timeline. Once you have the contracts in hand, you'll be able to review and complete them. Once we have these completed contracts back, we'll be able to set you up in our AspireHR support portal. We'll be able to provide you with the transports for the solution, the installation guides, and also the demographic templates. We'll also provide the user product guides for your review and the scoping questionnaire for your consideration. Once we have all of these in place, we'll jointly schedule and then conduct the kickoff meeting. In conclusion, I'd like to share 5 key points about why the AspireHR tax and garnishment reporting solution is the leading software of its kind and why you should consider moving to our solution. Firstly, it's developed by a company who is an SAP HR and Payroll specialist. We know SAP HR and Payroll like no other firm in the marketplace. We have over 18 years experience implementing the solution and understand the configuration and how the product works intimately. And in addition, not only have we implemented it, but we have on staff people who are actually involved in the development of the SAP HR and Payroll product. Secondly, we've refined the data extraction and reconciliation process to substantially compress the timelines so that the process can be quicker and smoother for you on an ongoing basis. We've implemented things such as intelligent design where it will determine what information will need to be sent to Ceridian since the last time you sent a file to Ceridian. We've introduced parallel processing to dramatically reduce the amount of time that it takes to generate the file. And we also have a reconciliation process where the output from the extraction can be directly compared to the SAP Payroll Recon report for immediate reconciliation before the file is sent to Ceridian. The ongoing maintenance has been greatly simplified by splitting the extraction process into two reports. One, an extremely robust and high-performance extraction of the payroll results details, and two, a second flexible and configurable solution for the extraction of the demographic information required by each tax authority. In addition to that, we've moved the mapping of the information from being on each individual client to centralize it at Ceridian to minimize the amount of changes. The product is thoroughly tested through multiple implementations of customers of varying size, from a few thousand through to those with tens of thousands, spanning all of the different tax authorities across the US. We now have many happy reference customers that we'd be happy to introduce you to. And finally, the implementation is quick and simple. It's as simple as us sending you the transports, loading them into your SAP system, and on a web meeting, we'll be able to, in most times in the very first pass, be able to run those files and generate something that reconciles immediately to your SAP Payroll Recon report and is ready to send to Ceridian for processing. So I'd like to encourage you to move forward with the process of selecting AspireHR and Ceridian for your tax and garnishment processing needs. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to myself, Brian Collett, at bcollett@aspirehr.com, BCOLLETT at AspireHR, AspireHR.com, with any questions or concerns that you might have. I'd be happy to set up a follow-up demonstration or a conversation about what it takes to implement with AspireHR. Thank you very much.